Hi guys, and welcome on Cheaters&Jerks. This channel is about real-life cheating stories and consequences.
The monotony of our daily conversations weighs on me. John, an engineer, is always busy with work, and our talks revolve around mundane topics like what to have for dinner or who will fix the leaky faucet. I find myself longing for something more, a deeper connection that seems to have faded over time. It's not that I don't love John, I do. But as I sit across from him at the dinner table, watching him scroll through his phone, I can't help but wonder if this is all there is. Is this what I signed up for when I said I do? I try to push these thoughts aside, focusing on the upcoming family vacation to Vietnam. It's a much needed break from the daily grind, and I'm looking forward to spending quality time with John and his brother, Mark. Mark is the complete opposite of John. He's laid back and adventurous, always ready with a joke or a wild story from his latest travel escapade. I've always enjoyed his company, but there's a certain warmth in our interactions that sometimes makes me feel guilty. As we board the plane, I settle into my seat, hoping that this trip will be the reset we need. Maybe the change of scenery will reignite the spark in our marriage, reminding us of the love and passion we once shared. But deep down, I know it's not just about the location. It's about us, about the way we've let our relationship slip into a comfortable routine. I glance over at John, who's already engrossed in a book about engineering, and I wonder if he feels it too. This sense that we're drifting apart, even as we sit side by side. The plane touches down in Vietnam, and as we step out into the humid air, I feel a sense of anticipation. The drive to the country house is filled with lush greenery and the occasional glimpse of the sea, a stark contrast to the concrete jungle we left behind. When we arrive, I'm immediately struck by the beauty of the place. The house is nestled in a secluded cove, surrounded by towering palms, and the gentle lapping of waves against the shore. It's like something out of a dream, a far cry from the monotony of our everyday lives. John, ever the workaholic, soon finds a quiet corner to set up his laptop and dive into his latest project. I try not to let it bother me, reminding myself that this is just how he is. But as I watch him hunched over his screen, I can't help but feel a pang of loneliness. That's when Mark suggests a walk along the beach. I hesitate for a moment, glancing at John, but he's already lost in his work. So, I agree, slipping on my sandals and following Mark out onto the sand. As we walk, the sun warm on our skin, Mark regales me with tales of his adventures in far-off lands. He speaks with such passion, his eyes alight with excitement, and I find myself drawn in by his words. It's a stark contrast to the stilted conversations I've grown accustomed to with John. We stop to watch the sunset, the sky a brilliant orange and pink. Mark turns to me, his gaze intense, and says, "You know, Shelley, sometimes you have to take a risk, to step out of your comfort zone and see what life has to offer." His words resonate with me, stirring something deep within. I realize that this is what I've been missing, this sense of adventure, of possibility. And as we stand there, the sea breeze ruffling our hair, I feel a spark of something new, something dangerous.
Listen up, because this is classic bored wife script. John is an engineer, provides cash. He just fled her to the luxury villa in Vietnam. And what is she doing? Complaining that he's monotonous. She is ungrateful for the safety that he provides, and she is chasing the thrill. And let's talk about Mark. Mark is an absolute snake. You don't invite your brother's wife for a romantic sunset walk while your brother is working. That is predatory testing, and he is testing the waters. But John is also failing her. John, you can't fly your wife to tropical paradise and then put your face in the laptop. You are working. You need to stop. This is crazy to go on vacation only to work. If you neglect your garden, someone else will try to water it up.
The first few days are a whirlwind of activity, each day filled with new adventures and experiences. We visit paradise beaches, the sand soft beneath our feet, and the water a crystal clear blue. We sample local cuisine, savoring the exotic flavors and spices that dance on our tongues. And we explore markets, marveling at the vibrant crafts and fragrant flowers that line the stalls. John seems to rejuvenate with each passing day, the stress and fatigue of his work melting away under the Vietnamese sun. He laughs more, his eyes crinkling at the corners, and I catch glimpses of the man I fell in love with all those years ago. Mark is the perfect host, always suggesting new adventures and showing us the hidden gems of this beautiful country. He navigates the unfamiliar streets with ease, his charm and confidence, drawing smiles from the locals. But it's in the evenings that things begin to shift. John, still adjusting to the time difference, often retires early, leaving Mark and me alone on the terrace. We chat for hours, sharing stories and laughter over bottles of local wine. The starry skies above us seem to sparkle with possibility, and I find myself drawn to the warmth in Mark's eyes. These moments, stolen away from the bustle of the day, begin to hold a special meaning for me. It's in these quiet hours that I feel truly seen, truly heard. Mark listens intently to my hopes and dreams, his gaze never wavering, and I realize just how much I've been craving this kind of connection. As the nights wear on, the wine flowing and the conversation growing more intimate, I feel a growing sense of unease. The line between friendship and something more begins to blur, and I catch myself wondering what it would be like to cross it, to taste the forbidden fruit and see where it leads. But then I think of John, sleeping soundly just a few rooms away, and guilt washes over me. How can I be having these thoughts, these feelings, when I'm supposed to be happily married? What kind of person does that make me? I push the thoughts away, focusing instead on the beauty of the moment. The sound of the waves crashing against the shore, the feel of the warm breeze on my skin, and the way Mark's hand brushes against mine as he reaches for the wine, sending shivers down my spine. One evening, Mark decided to throw a beach party. The idea sounded innocent enough. Bonfires, music, laughter. John, with a sigh that screamed fatigue, agreed to join. I slipped into a dress that fluttered in the wind. John, in his casual ease, and Mark, ever the charming host, looked effortlessly captivating. We walked to the beach, which had transformed into a vibrant tapestry of torches and colorful lights, twinkling like fairy dust. The scent of grilled seafood wafted through the air. Laughter and chatter mingled with the gentle crashing of waves. The atmosphere felt boundless, each moment pulsating with magic. Mark maneuvered effortlessly through the crowd, his hand on my lower back, guiding me towards a group of people dancing to an intoxicating rhythm. John lingered by the drink station, his smile genuine but his eyes weary. He looked at me, and for a moment, the years melted away. We joined the throng, John moving with familiar ease while I felt the beat course through me, every movement contagious, every laugh infectious. As the night progressed, John, fatigued, found a quiet spot. I watched him from a distance, his expression softening before he decided to call it a night. "I'm heading back," John said, gently squeezing my shoulder. "You can stay if you want. Have fun." I nodded, my heart skipping yet guilt-tugging at the edges. "All right, I'll see you later." John walked off, his figure gradually blending into the shadows. Mark stepped closer, filling the space John had left. His presence felt like an electric current, each accidental touch sending shivers down my spine. The party continued in a blur of vibrant lights and melodies that seemed to echo my racing thoughts. Mark handed me a drink, our fingers brushing. "You're enjoying yourself, right? This is what vacations are for." I took a sip, the cool liquid a contrast to the heat surging through me. "Yeah, it's amazing. You're a fantastic host." He grinned, his eyes searching mine as if looking for something just beyond the surface. I'm glad you're having a good time. You deserve it. The crowd danced around us, a kaleidoscope of movement, but it felt like only the two of us existed in that moment. Mark's closeness, the way his gaze lingered a second longer, the almost imperceptible touch of his hand. It was intoxicating, bordering on dangerous. But I didn't pull away. Every fiber of my being felt alive, electric, as if a switch had flipped, illuminating feelings I hadn't even realized were dimmed. So, Mark's voice was low, almost a whisper. Where do you see yourself in the next few years? I blinked, the question catching me off guard. I'm not really sure. There's so much I want to do, but sometimes it feels like I'm just going through the motions. He nodded, his expression pensive. Life's too short for that. You gotta chase what makes you happy. Our conversation deepened, embers of the bonfire reflecting in his eyes as if mirroring the flames igniting inside me. As the night wore on, the lines continued to blur. The air thickened, charged with unspoken words and possibilities, lingering just an inch from reality. The next morning, the sun peeked through the blinds, waking me with gentle beams. John groaned beside me, clutching his head. I drank too much last night, he said, voice rough. Mark burst into the room, his energy painfully contrasting John's misery. Morning, lovebirds. How about a day on the yacht? Crystal clear waters, fresh sea breeze. Perfect hangover cure. John squinted at him, then at me. You should go, Shelley. Have fun for both of us. I hesitated, but not for long. All right, let's go. The moment we stepped onto the yacht, the air felt different. We were drifting in more ways than one. Mark's fingers brushed mine as he helped me aboard, his eyes lingering just a beat too long. Waves lapped against the hull, an endless blue stretching out before us. Mark leaned into me as he adjusted a sail, our shoulders touching. Beautiful day, isn't it? His voice was low, charged. Yeah, I managed, though my thoughts were miles from calm. We found ourselves gravitating towards each other, a magnetic pull I couldn't resist. Every touch, every glance sparked with electricity. When he handed me a drink, our fingers collided and stayed. The air felt thicker with each second. I looked away, trying to steady myself. Thanks. Hours passed in a haze of sun and sea. Mark stayed close, guiding me through the boat's nooks and crannies. His hand would slip over mine, an accidental graze against my waist. No need for words. The tension told it all. We anchored near a secluded cove. Mark leaned back, his arm brushing mine. I'm glad you came. Me too, I said, trying to ignore the flutter of excitement. We laughed, exchanged stories, but the undercurrent of our conversation was palpable, everything brimming with unsaid words. Each touch, each look, dragged me further away from the safety of yesterday. The sun dipped lower, casting us in hues of gold. By the time we headed back, my mind was a tangled mess of guilt and exhilaration. As the yacht pulled into the harbor, Mark caught my hand, whispering, "Let's do this again." I nodded, unable to trust my voice. We stepped off the boat, the laughter lingering, but the tension hung heavier than ever.
John is failing the situational awareness test on every level. He goes to bed early and leaves his wife at the beach party with alcohol and the guy who is actively hunting her. Then the next morning he skips the yacht trip because he is hungover. You never ever outsource your wife's entertainment to another man, especially not to a single guy on the boat. I know this is his brother, but there is too many stories where wife leaves you for the brother. And look at his brother. Mark is playing the long game. Hand on the lower back, deep conversation about chasing what makes you happy. It's manipulative trash. And Shelly is eating it up because she has zero boundaries. She asks herself, what kind of person does that make me? I will tell you, it makes you traitor, and it is making you the biggest trash in the garden.
The sticky heat of that summer night made the sheets cling to my skin. I woke up, throat parched, longing for water. As I stumbled down the hallway, I spotted a light seeping through the kitchen door. I stepped quietly, the cool floor a brief relief beneath my bare feet. Mark stood by the counter, shirt unbuttoned, a lazy grin spreading over his face as he noticed me. He had just returned from another wild night out. Couldn't sleep. His voice was a husky whisper, that trademark playful glint in his eyes. Thirsty, I replied, reaching for a glass. The tension was immediate, a palpable hum in the air. I poured water and took a sip, the cold liquid easing my dry throat. We stood there, silent for a moment, until the stillness shattered. "How was your night?" I asked, curious yet careful. "A blur. You know how it is." He leaned closer, his gaze lingering on me a bit too long. The air seemed to sizzle between us, charged with something unspoken yet undeniable. He moved nearer, our faces inches apart. "Why don't you ever come out with me, Shelley?" His voice dropped, low and intimate, a dare hidden in his words. "I can't. You know that," I whispered back, but my voice betrayed me, trembling with something far more dangerous than guilt. His hand brushed against mine, the contact electric and searing. "Shelley?" Without warning, he took my face in his hands and his lips crashed onto mine with a fervor that obliterated every reservation. The world outside ceased to exist. Driven by the moment and that heady tension, we dissolved into each other. My inhibitions vanished, replaced by a burning desire I couldn't fight. We stood there in the kitchen, lost in the feeling, the silence of the house magnifying every heartbeat. It was reckless, intoxicating, a mistake being made in real time. When it was over, the silence returned, pregnant with the weight of what we'd done. For days after, guilt gnawed at my insides, clashing violently with the memories of that night. I felt the sting of our betrayal and the sickening thrill that came with it. I wished for clarity, but each glance at Mark stoked the confusion, a twisted cocktail of emotions that wouldn't settle. Guilt plagued me every time I looked at John. His eyes, so kind and unaware, twisted the knot in my stomach tighter with each gaze. The tension between Mark and me was palpable. Each encounter a confusing mixture of desire and bitter regret. The villa had become a pressure cooker, and John, sweetly oblivious, remained at the valve. Yet I noticed a change in him too. The fatigued lines around his eyes seemed softer, his smile a bit more relaxed. He embraced this vacation like a lifeline. Still, it made the guilt gnaw deeper. On the last night of our vacation, Mark suggested going to a nearby bar. It was a sly grin that split his face, promising a night away from the cooling embers of our infidelity. I told John I needed some alone time, the lie crisp and easy on my tongue, and he didn't question it. He nodded, his eyes half lidded with contentment, grateful for a rare moment to unwind alone. The bar was dim and intimate, the kind of place that wrapped around you like a worn-out blanket. Mark leaned against the doorway, grin widening as I approached. The war within me raged. I swore I wouldn't come, yet here I was, drawn by some magnetic pull I couldn't resist. "You came," Mark stated, his voice like velvet, the edges lost in the hum of quiet conversations and low music. "Yeah," I replied, breathless, every part of me hyper-aware of his nearness. He ordered us drinks, something sweet and strong, and I let the alcohol cloud my guilt just for a moment. We talked about trivial things, the trip, the local cuisine, anything to fill the space. But there was no avoiding the undercurrent. The attraction between us had become inescapable, a current pulling us to a familiar, inevitable place. Suddenly, Mark leaned in, his breath hot against my ear. "You know, the night doesn't have to end here." The shiver returned, cascading down my spine, a stark reminder of the nights we'd already stolen. We locked eyes, and the weight of our desire crashed down like a tidal wave, sweeping away the flimsy sandcastles of my reservations. The air around us thrummed with the unspoken tension. each second ticking louder, charged with electricity. I drained my glass, my decision made not by logic but by an overwhelming need that I couldn't deny. "Let's go," I murmured, my voice barely audible, a mixture of anticipation and frustration. With a nod, Mark took my hand, leading me out of the bar into the warm, sticky night. Every step felt heavier, laden with the knowledge of what awaited us, and yet lighter, as if each one brought us closer to some twisted form of freedom. The streets were quiet, the perfect backdrop for the chaos within. We didn't speak as we walked, words useless against the storm of our actions. I clung to the moment, allowing myself to be swept away just a little longer before reality and its abyss of consequences engulfed me once more. Mark led me to the back hallway, his hand firm on my wrist. The door to the small staff restroom clicked shut behind us. In that confined space, the intensity between us built, crackling like a live wire. I backed against the wall. Mark's eyes bore into mine, the same mix of hunger and determination that mirrored my own. He cupped my face, and I didn't pull away. In that small, confined space, we crossed the final line. The guilt was instant, waiting for us the moment the silence returned. We dressed in silence, avoiding each other's eyes. The weight of what we'd done hung heavy in the air. As we stepped back out into the bar, I felt exposed, raw from the intensity of our actions. The walk back to the villa was torture. Each step forward pulled me back to earth, the enormity of our betrayal weighing down on my shoulders like a leaden shroud. The earlier freedom was gone, replaced by a growing sense of dread. Mark's fingers slipped from mine as we neared the villa, the connection severed by reality's harsh grip. John's peaceful face greeted us at the villa. He was sprawled on the couch, a faint smile indicating he had dozed off, probably dreaming sweet, untainted dreams. My stomach churned, the bile of guilt rising in my throat. How could I face him now? Mark must have sensed my turmoil because he slipped away quietly, leaving me alone to grapple with the immediacy of my remorse. The villa felt like a tomb, every room echoing with the weight of our indiscretion. I paused in the doorway, eyes locked on John's sleeping form, my heart a tumultuous storm of emotions. It wasn't supposed to be this way. Our secret was supposed to be a fleeting escape, not this insurmountable mountain of guilt and betrayal. As I stood there, the enormity of our actions pressed down on me, suffocating in its intensity. Reality had hit me hard. The passion we had shared in that bar seemed like distant, feverish madness. The magnitude of everything we'd done became painfully clear.
A staff restroom? Let's sink into it for the second. Guys, she threw away her marriage vows for hookup in the dirty bar bathroom with her husband's own flesh and blood. Mark is the lowest form of man, breaking the ultimate code of brotherhood just to sucker another girl. And Shelley lies right there to the John's face, just so she can get plowed by his brother. There is no magic pull, it's just raw, ugly betrayal. She looks at the John sleeping peacefully and feels bad, but not bad enough to stop it. This is disgusting.
The vacation ended with a mixture of relief and regret. Returning home felt like escaping the intensity of Vietnam, but also losing the connection I had experienced with Mark. The days in Vietnam seemed like a distant dream, a chapter colored by passion and introspection. Stepping back into our home, the familiar scent of vanilla candles and the worn feel of our couch enveloped me like a comforting hug. John set our bags down and gave me a tired smile. Home, sweet home. His voice was warm, but my heart twisted. I forced a smile, nodding as I took in the surroundings that had once been sanctuary. The same walls, the same pictures, everything unchanged, yet feeling so foreign now. Mark's absence was a gaping hole, a void that gnawed at me. Conversations felt strained. John's well meaning updates about work blending into a blur. Nights were the worst. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, memories of Vietnam flooding my mind. The laughter, the adrenaline, rush in that cramped bathroom. Mark's touch. A dangerous mix of longing and guilt washed over me. John never noticed the change. His routine carried on, unbroken, as if Vietnam had been just another trip. He'd brew his coffee, read the paper, and kiss my cheek before heading to work. "Everything all right, Shell?" he'd ask occasionally, concern flickering in his eyes. "Yeah, just tired from the trip," I'd reply, my voice a thin veil over the truth. Mark and I hadn't spoken since we returned. His messages were sparse, casual, never tangential to what had been. I couldn't blame him. Part of me wanted to reach out, desperateness for that connection, but I knew it'd lead to nothing but disaster. One evening, John's question broke through the noise in my head. "You seem distant lately. Anything you want to talk about?" Caught off guard, I shook my head, gulping down the lump in my throat. "No, just work stress. It'll pass." He nodded, but the concern didn't fade. He pulled me into a hug, and I felt a pang of something. Regret, guilt, love, or all three. Our home had become a stage where I played my part, hoping the script wouldn't split open, revealing the truth. The days dragged, each one a balancing act, teetering on the edge of revelation. Back home, the ripples of that summer in Vietnam kept crashing into my daily life. Every morning, as I brewed coffee and watched John get ready for work, the guilt gnawed at me, a constant reminder of my betrayal. John remained blissfully unaware, wrapped up in his routine, while I wrestled with my demons. Balancing this duality felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm. I'd stare at myself in the bathroom mirror, seeing two versions, a reflection of the woman who shared soft, stolen moments with Mark, and the wife who returned to a life of vanilla candles and mundane comforts. Reconciling these two figures wasn't easy. Vietnam was a wild, uncontrolled burst of emotions. Here, everything was measured, deliberate. I ached for honesty, yearned for communication that went beyond, "How was your day?" We had built a fortress of routine, and its walls were suffocating. One night, as John lay asleep next to me, I leafed through my sketch pad. The pages were filled with raw, emotional drawings from Vietnam. They were a catharsis, a way to cope with the turmoil within. I couldn't ignore the glaring truth. I needed more than what our marriage had become. Facing these emotions, I began to realize what I truly needed. From John, but also from myself. The silence between us wasn't just his doing. I avoided the tough conversations, the admissions of dissatisfaction. Ignoring emotional wounds hadn't healed them. It had only allowed them to fester, leading to that explosive, misguided summer. I knew changes had to happen, starting with me. I couldn't alter the past, but I could reshape my future. Honesty had been lacking. My courage needed strengthening. Engaging more deeply with John became non-negotiable, and not just for his sake. The lessons from Vietnam buzzed in my mind, hard to swallow, but necessary. Moments spent with Mark were not my proudest, yet they reframed my perspective. I craved an authentic connection, a marriage where dialogues were brave and truthful. Taking a breath, I traced a finger over John's sleeping form, feeling a cocktail of regret and hope. Moving forward wouldn't be easy, the road jagged and uncertain, but it was a path I had to walk. Determined, I closed the sketch pad and lay back, staring at the ceiling. Soon I will come clean, but not now. When it happens, I will update this post.
Look at the mental gymnastics there. She is trying to frame cheating with her husband's brother as learning experience that helped her realize she needed more. No, Shelley, you aren't brave and you are discovering yourself. No, you aren't discovering yourself. You blew up your family. Notice how Mark ghosted her once they got back, because to him she was just vacation fun. He didn't want the responsibilities of a relationship, especially relationship with the cheater, because this woman is just cheater. He just wanted the thrill of conquering his brother's wife. Now she is sitting at the home planning to drop nuclear bomb on John's life. And poor John, when he finds out he is going to lose his wife and his brother at the same breath, brutal, and I wouldn't wish it for my worst enemy.